What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Me and Pops Unplugged. This is episode 7. We appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Likes, comments are always appreciated. I know me and Pops put a lot of hard work into these episodes, so thank you guys for tuning in. So, real quick, I want to make a statement and then pose a question to you guys, right? So, how do people end up in bad situations and don't even see it coming? So, my question to you guys is, why does this happen and how can we actually prevent it? And this applies to anybody. So bad situations, in my opinion, aren't random, right? There's usually a pattern, whether it's small, ignored decisions, emotional reactions, and lack of awareness over time. Nobody wakes up and just says, oh, I'm going to fuck up my life today. And, how can I make it more complicated for myself? But every day people make small decisions that potentially put them in bad situations until it's too late. So knowing this, I'm gonna defer to Pops right out of the gate here. So what's your perspective on people making bad decisions, right? Where do they go wrong? Whether it applies to relationships, jobs, money. How do you feel about that, Pops?
I mean, I think it's multifaceted. I think it's a lot of different factors. Um, First off, I think the biggest thing is, your circle, who you surround yourself with. Because, like anything in life, if you surround yourself with the right type of people that, serve your life and have, like-minded interests and, want the same vision in their life, then you're going to have success.
Yo,
Um,
facts. I
yeah,
can, that highly
absolutely.
resonates with me, like complete understatement. So, no, I agree with that.
I think that's the biggest factor. Um, you know, People hang out with people, not only hang out, associate, hang out, and are even in relationships with people who don't serve, you know, their same interest and their same vision, and they just set themselves back by just that factor alone. You know, if you look, there's plenty of information out there nowadays, reels and different life coaches, type of information where people say, if you hang out with a bunch of millionaires, eventually you'll be a millionaire. Well, the same thing is to be said on the opposite end. If you hang out with a bunch of people who are doing the wrong things and living the wrong lifestyle, even if you're not that type of person when you begin hanging out with them, you're going to end up 99 times out of 100 living, doing the same things, and you're going to start gradually becoming just like those people because you are who you surround yourself with. So, to me, that's the biggest factor, when you talk about that type of, this subject. So, who you hang out with is going to dictate, or who you surround yourself with is going to dictate, what you ultimately become.
No, 100%, absolutely. I mean, I can speak on that as well. I mean, I used to hang out with a bunch of knuckleheads, especially when I was in high school and first growing up. I'm sure you can attest to that too. But, it's like the old saying, you're a product in your environment. But it's not just the environment, your social circle also plays a part in that as well. You're seeing these people every day. And I mean, for me personally, even recently, like I have friends where I'm at, but, I know if some real shit went down and I hit them up, they might not even get back to me till fucking 3 days later, and I'm not even really hanging out with them unless they're drinking or doing like some low energy shit, just watching sports. Like, we're not talking about business. We're not talking about elevating ourselves. We're not talking about hitting the gym. I'm thinking on that wavelength, but I know they're not. And it's a shame too, because I know they're good guys in their heart, but people like that, sometimes it sucks because deep down you're just gonna have to leave them behind eventually. And it's not personal. It's just like, hey, do I want to wake up in 5, 7, 10 years and you know feel like shit, look like shit, and just deal with the status quo, or do I want to elevate?
I completely agree with you. And when you were just saying that, uh, it made me think that also too, number one, what you were saying about, the friends. A lot of people are friends, for what they could get out of it. Not
Right.
only,
How
they're
it
not,
benefits them.
it's not reciprocal. It's not like they're going to be there for you when you really need them. It's more about what you can do for them and not what they can do for you. It's not, the reciprocation is not there. So, that type of friend you don't really want in your life anyway. If it's all about you constantly feeding into, pouring into them, but they're not pouring back into you or being there in your time, and it should be mutual back and forth. And then secondly, it made me think of, you know, uh, the right type of friends. If say you have an issue going on in your life and you call one of them up, like, yo, bro, I'm going through this situation, blase, blase, and you lay it out for them. If you're, dealing with the wrong type of people and seeking advice from the wrong type of people, and they're giving you this information and their mindset is completely off. Now you're accepting this information and you have this person that you're going back and forth with. Well, you keep hearing that and you're, getting the wrong information the whole time. Eventually you're going to start thinking like them. So, when you seek advice from the wrong people to begin with, it's not going to end up well.
Yeah. I mean, look, you listen to somebody talk long enough. I mean, they're going to tell you exactly who they are. And if there's anything I learned in, my 31 years of being on this earth, I mean, it's that. And, I'm very slow to open up to new people and things like that. I'm social, but to a certain extent, I don't really share too much. I evaluate, you know, character wise, whether it's a relationship, friendship, and I'm real slow to fall into you know, being vulnerable, open up, trusting certain individuals. But, hey, if they prove their worth, 100%, I'm in that friendship, relationship, no doubt.
Yeah. And I feel too, kind of what you just said to touch on that. Um, if you're dealing with anybody, friend, relationship, or whatever, when they start to show you who they are, you need to believe them and stop, avoiding those red flags. And if you continue, I mean, we all have flaws, so you want to see certain red flags, but if they're continual and they keep showing you that, believe them, like they're saying. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And a lot of times people just ignore that and they justify, oh well, they were having a bad day, or they're going through this and they're going through that. And I could see that sometimes, but if it's a continual thing, you need to take a look at that relationship and maybe stop dealing with that person.
100%. I mean, especially when it comes to relationships and dating and things like that. I mean, a lot of guys, I'm sure, they don't want to really stir the pot and they'd rather just keep the peace. But it's not even about that. It's about, having the discernment to be like, hey, this person has not necessarily wronged me, but, I'm starting to see some things that I disagree with. And the more you ignore it, you just allow it to fester. And then it becomes a normal thing. And then you're just like, oh, well, this isn't a big deal. When in reality, usually after the fact, you realize, well, wow, yeah, I didn't pay attention to that. And then a lot of guys are sitting there wondering, oh, why didn't it work out? I've made that mistake. And even this topic we're talking about, ending up in bad situations. I've been in I've been in good situations, but I've also been in a lot of bad situations too. Some of it was out of my control. Some of it was just, you know, um, not having the experience required to deal with the situation at the time, whether it was youth or, I just didn't really know how to navigate it. But now that's why I'm so slow to, fall into a relationship and, friendships with certain people because you don't really know what they're about until they prove their worth. If they're a genuine person, that's when I'm firm. That's when I stay in that friendship and relationship. And it's meaningful too. Like I don't take friendships and relationships lightly. Like if you're gonna be a part of my life, be a part of it. Don't be fucking, you know, halfway in and halfway out.
Yeah,
That's just my
absolutely,
philosophy.
absolutely. And as to what you were just saying, it's easy looking back on things. Hindsight is 2020, so it's easy to always look back on situations and be like, wow, I should have saw this, or I should have known this. The key is, and it's easier said than done, is seeing that in real time and having that discernment, like you saying, and like you were saying, and being able to differentiate, like, man, this person's words and actions don't align, and something seems off, and noticing those red flags. So discernment is a very big, a very good thing, but it's kind of hard to do in the moment. Like I said, it's so hard. It's so easy to look back. You're like, wow, I should have saw this, or I should have known this. But it's a lot harder to do it in the moment when you're, actually going through it. So yeah, I mean, to keep that at the forefront and try to differentiate, from, see the warning signs of differentiate and, judge a person's actions and, the words and see if they align. As I said, it's a lot easier said than done, you know. So
Yeah, I mean that's a fucking understatement. And it's weird too because, it's not like there's a time restriction on, how many mistakes you can make and, oh, I made 20, I made 50 mistakes. Like we're human. We're all gonna fuck up. But it does reach a certain point where there's no time restriction and there's no X amount of attempts dealing with certain situations where life is just going to give you where, oh, okay, you reached X amount, it's done now. Like there's no recovery from that. But it's going to bring me to my next point, which, was like just drifting through life, right? So once you take a certain amount of hits, you're pretty much just adapted to dysfunction. Your stress becomes normal. You start just coping and not actually addressing the issues, whether it's distractions, bad habits, avoidance. Um, I've made that mistake personally so many different times. And, I'm saying all this because I don't want anybody else to make that mistake as far as viewers, whoever's watching right now. But at the same time, I don't regret a lot of it either because sometimes the best way to learn is the hard way. You never forget that shit. So, I mean, what's your perspective on that?
for your last statement, learning the hard way. I've done plenty of that, and so, but yeah, I mean, the
Right.
experience is the best teacher. But again, if we're easy, if we can learn in the moment and not make it so hard on ourselves, that would be ideal. It's again, it's just easier said than done. But I know to what you were touching on, like if you said about these continual things happening. I'm learning now, and we're always learning, but I've learned more and more recently, the last few years, that a lot of it is stuff within yourself, what you're drawn to and certain things going on with inside yourself, whether it be trauma. And I think trauma plays a big part. Our past traumas dictate a lot of our, most of our behaviors and things of that nature. And I feel like you have to do a lot of personal inventory and really decide, what it is you seek in life, what your purpose is, and what really serves you, whether it be career, because me and you touched on this. We both have good jobs. We're both union members, and my job pays well, has great benefits. But again, it's not the dream job.
Yeah.
Like going, I work in a warehouse. It's not my dream. My purpose, I feel, is more aligns with things like this, trying to help people become better, trying to help people with addiction and bettering themselves and coming out of negative situations. And I feel like that's my purpose. It's just that for me to go into that, I need that stability of my job and to have that foundation so
Right.
that I'm able to do other things. Now, hopefully down the line, I'm able to kind of veer off into that when I'm in that situation, to be able to. But I feel like most people are in, the wrong career with the wrong partner, hanging out with the wrong person, and you know, all of that dictates these situations keep coming up, these negative situations are complicating their life. And I feel like those things are like the key elements to having a better life is like if you're living your purpose, with your career, you're with a partner that has the same interests and you serve each other, water each other and pour into each other. And then you're hanging around the wrong people, the right people, you have the right, circle around you, that's going to allow those situations to become, you know, much less and have, much less of an opportunity of happening. So I feel like a lot of it is like you really have to take not you, but anybody
Right.
has to take a look at themselves and understand what it is about themselves that they need to work on and what really serves them in life, whether it be career, relationship, friendship, their circle, the whole thing, yeah, the whole big picture.
No, 100%. I mean, it's just spitting facts right there.
And then
What
when
would
you
you
think about it,
say?
right?
Go
My
ahead.
fault. Um, when you're not living your purpose and you have all these things that don't really serve you in your life, especially when it comes to a job and a partner and all that, then it leads to unhappiness, which is going to, you know, kind of make you act out because now you're unhappy. So now you might be dealing with different vices, whether it's drinking, hanging out with the wrong people, gambling, whatever the case may be. It's going to lead you into that because the unhappiness with the career, the unhappiness with your partner, or whatever, or the unhappiness with yourself is going to tend to make you seek, comfort and happiness in other areas. And most of the time, it's going to be with the wrong type of things or the wrong type of people. So I feel like, a lot of it is internal. Like, yeah, of course, outside forces are going to dictate certain things, but a lot of it has to do with like really finding yourself and what works for you and what makes you happy. And when you don't need a drink or, a certain partner, you know, to seek validation or comfort in other things or gambling or whatever the case might be. It's like you have to really become comfortable with yourself and deal with, the core issues inside of yourself that make you um, do these different type of things that are going to lead to negative situations.
Right.
That's just my opinion anyway.
I mean, honestly, I would say 90% of it is internal. Because I mean, the only real thing you have control over at the end of the day is yourself, your habits, your decisions, the people you hang out with, what you do with your time. I mean, everything else is just outside forces. And I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you too, Bob, do you think there's a specific event that is just a wake up call for most people, or is it different for everybody?
I think it's different for everybody. I mean, like for me, it took years to really kind of take a look at myself. We talked about it in the last episode. Like I constantly blamed other people and for my circumstances, just put it on everybody else. But what it really came down to was me. I had to take a look at myself. So, but I feel that it really depends on each person. It's different case by case basis.
That's fair.
What do
I
you
mean,
think?
like the past couple of years for me was just straight survival mode, honestly, adapted to dysfunction. Like I become so successful in the chaos, I would say, that things now are so calm and peaceful. I just have the time to look back on everything and be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how are you still here? I genuinely ask myself that sometimes. And even everything that our family's been through over the past, what, fucking decade? I mean, it makes
Pretty
me
much.
think, like, this life is not meant for the weak. It's just not. Like, you need to be a hard motherfucker out here, man or female. You need to be a fucking badass to live this life. You really do. And, it's just so much shit at the end of the day. But, what keeps me grounded is my faith. I know it's a big one for you. What keeps me grounded is just staying focused. Like, I feel best when I'm on my shit. Like, I know I have a checklist for things to do, whether it's day to day or week to week, month to month. Like I'm in the gym, I'm fucking meal prep, I'm killing it at work, I'm making money, I'm putting money away. I'm bettering myself, I'm reading, I'm creating. We're doing this podcast. Like everything is just, it's a constant discipline at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And I fall off all the time. One day I might not go to the gym. One day, oh, you know what? I forgot the meal prep. I got a meal prep today, actually. So I'm reminding myself right there. Like,
Yeah, me
it's all
too.
small habits.
Yeah, consistency is hard, man. It's really hard to just get up and do the same things every day, especially when you're doing something positive. Especially for me, I I've been trying to get back to working out and on a regular basis, and I can't even start. It's just been crazy, but I'm really committed to it. And we talked about this earlier in the week on the
Yeah.
phone, but we had talked about doing like a 6 month program, a 90-day program. And to be honest with you, I feel like if you're having trouble starting and staying consistent, like why bite off more than you can chew? Like
Yeah.
why
Start
say,
small.
well, I'm gonna commit to a six month program. I'm gonna commit to a 90-day program. How about and even a 30-day? Like let's start off with like 1 week, and try to stick to that because this for me, as I said, just starting is really the problem. I've been wanting to get back to eating healthy, working out, and just getting started. It's like always, it's so easy to make an excuse and be like, "Oh, I'll start tomorrow, start next week." It's just so common for me anyway. Like I'm
Yeah. I mean,
constantly, "Oh,
look, we
next
just
week,
said that.
next week."
The I'll
Yeah,
deal with it later type of mentality. Like, oh, I'll get around to it when I get around to it, which
yeah,
honestly is the perfect segue for making our commitment. So all y'all watching at home, whether you're on a phone, tablet, computer, doesn't matter. We challenge you to do a 30-day challenge with us. So it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's fitness, whether it's something you're trying to achieve, personal goal, does not matter. Make this commitment with us. My personal goal, just stay locked in consistently with work, make my money, meal prep, gym. Very simple, very straightforward, way easier said than done, but that is my commitment on camera, and I will be documenting it for the next 30 days. So, Pops, you're up.
so what? This is my commitment time.
Yeah.
All right, since you're putting me on the spot,
Doesn't
I
matter
was
what it
planning.
is.
Yeah, I was planning on doing this anyway, but mine is today is going to be my last day of right now anyway of eating solid food, which sounds crazy, but I've been wanting to get back to this juicing thing. So all this coming week, I plan on just having no solid food, just drinking water, no energy drinks, none of that stuff. Um, all just healthy juicing, just like twice a day.
So like a
So
so like a
like
fruit cleanse, like a fruit fast
pretty
almost.
much, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So just all juice. I mean, what I do is you could do it in a juicer, but I'll put it in the blender and then with water, and then after the blender, take a screen strainer and just pour it into something through the strainer, and then what's left on top, you kind of just take and press down to get the remaining juice. And my goal is anyway for this week to have two of those a day, like two nice sized ones, maybe like 16 ounces or something like that. One early and then one late, and do that all week. And that's my program on the food. And then I want to physically work out. I mean, it's all physical, but actually work out like with push-ups and sit-ups, like all calisthenic work, 3 days a week. And then the other 3 days, basketball, because I'm a big sports person, played basketball most of my life. So what I was planning on doing is maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the calisthenics, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, um, the basketball. So it's kind of like cardio one day, actual
Yeah.
workout
Just
the opposite day,
alternate.
because your body needs a chance to heal too. So I feel like the opposite day with the calisthenics, and then the opposite day with the cardio with the basketball and stuff like that, and then just have one day off where I'll eat solid and no workout, rest, recuperate, and then back to the program. So, and then of
But
course,
that's a good
praying
goal.
every day. I do that anyway, but the praying every day, and then also committing to no more taking off work because I have FMLA, through my job, and I could pretty much take off when I want. And I've been taking a lot of short checks lately, a lot of 25,
Yeah.
30
And it's
hour
like for
checks.
what? Like just
And
just
it
go in.
adds up. And like you said, for what? Like I wound up doing nothing anyway. So what is the point? And the summer's coming. I'm really trying to lock in, especially, well, we all say every year we get on the beach in the summertime and say July. You're like, man, I could have been sitting here with a beach body if I would have committed and worked out. And it's like right now it's still March. It's not. So even if you just look at it, tomorrow is what, the 23rd of March. You still got a week left of March.
Right.
And you got all of April, all of May. So just to get to June, you got two and almost a half months just to get into June. If you commit
And
and
look,
work
I mean,
out, you're
unless
doing
you were
it.
just enormously obese, that's
Yeah,
really all it takes. I
yeah,
mean, and you have
60
medical
plus
problems and
days
stuff
should
like
do it.
that. Right.
And then instead of
Like a
sitting there,
good 2 to 3 months consistent, you will definitely see results.
yeah,
Usually you
and then
see results after a
instead of
month.
sitting there in June or July thinking like, damn, why didn't I, you know, do this earlier? Next summer I'm going to have a beach body. Well, it's still possible now.
Well, look, I
So that's
mean,
what I'm trying to do.
for me and Pops, just as a brand, I mean, we're bringing the fucking energy for the rest of the year. And
Yeah,
those of y'all who've been following us for the past couple months, we fell off a little bit, especially after the first couple episodes. But I mean, we made a commitment. What? It was early February, and we've been posting every week since then. So we're bringing the energy,
yeah, it's
and
probably been
it's not right.
about six
It's
weeks.
it's not just about us, getting up here and sounding like we're preaching either. Like we want to be about what we talk about, and if we're not, if we're sitting here trying to help people, well, we're trying to help ourselves as well, and we're trying to let our actions dictate, what we talk about, and it's literally
Not
that
that-
easy. It's that
Yeah,
simple.
what you're saying is like not just talk about it, but live it yourself.
Yeah, be
And I
about
mean, again, it's easier said than done, but it's something that not just for this, like I want to do personally. My stomach got way too big, got way too complacent. And I think it's easy when it's wintertime, especially living in the Northeast. This winter was
it. Yeah, I mean,
brutal,
it's depressing as
and
fuck. There's snow on the ground. It's cold as shit. You don't
and
feel like doing
and,
anything. I mean, it's easy to get into a slump.
and I get seasonal depression every year. That's just a fact. So now the sun's coming out. Like today's beautiful. Yesterday was beautiful, and the weather's just going to get nicer. And I've always been a sports person, always loved playing basketball. It was one of my first
Same.
loves. So I need to get back to that. I really want to lose the stomach. Like I'm not trying to be, Adonis, I'm in my 50s. So it's probably,
Listen,
it's
you could be.
probably,
I
it's
mean,
probably, yeah, but I was saying it's probably not a possibility. But I just want to get healthier. I want to feel better. I don't want to be, my job is physical. I don't want to be sore all the time. I just want to be overall better and I just want to be overall happier. So the commitment is, like I said, work out 6 days a week, 3 days cardio, 3 days calisthenics, eat right, and for everything. The the juicing thing isn't for everybody, and I get that. But eat healthy, work out 6 days a week, take a day off for rest. Um, no drinking, no drugs. I don't do
right.
that
We,
anyway.
we
But
don't do that anyway.
for other
I already
people,
told
like that's
you
the
I
commitment.
quit drinking, so that's done.
But you know, um, that's the commitment that I'm trying to make to myself and trying to
Oh
get
yeah.
people to go along with me and like you said, document everything and try to motivate each other because this shit is hard. Like it's hard to be consistent. It's hard to have a routine. And there's the devil's always going to be in your mind saying, don't do it today. Do it tomorrow, next week.
Yeah, that's the
You know,
fucking
and,
devil on your shoulder trying to hold you back from your truest potential.
yeah, and
And
that's the hardest part is getting past that.
right.
It's really hard to not listen to the voices in your head that make you justify everything. Like,
Yeah, but a lot
oh,
of times
it's
that's a
okay if you
fucking
don't do it
illusion.
today.
It's an
Yeah.
illusion in your own mind. Like, you can create whatever the fuck you want to create. You can become whatever you want to become. And honestly, those of y'all watching right now, it's always great to strive for better and better yourself and achieve your goals. Like, we are all about that here. But at the same time, despite all that, you guys are enough. You're good just as you are, just you existing. The fact that you exist, I don't know if y'all know this. If you look it up, the statistical probability of you even fucking existing is over 1 in 1 trillion. You should not fucking exist statistically. Nobody should fucking exist. And that blew my mind when I first heard it. I'm like, what the fuck? So just knowing that, always good to strive for better. Always good to better yourself. But those of y'all watching, if you're in a dark place or you're just going through it right now, like we've been through the past couple weeks, depression, anxiety, constant battles of, oh, I want to be better, but I'm stuck in my old ways. How do I get through this? Just know you guys are enough. I just want to throw that in. Let's go to story time with Pops. So, Pops, I know you got stories out the ass. What story do you have where, you might have been in a bad situation or, you might have avoided a bad situation and you just seen it for what it was and how did you handle it?
Okay, well, it's not an actual story of like a certain situation. It's kind of a repetitive situation that kept happening to me. And it
Oh,
ties
wow.
into what we're talking about. So, as you know, and people who follow me know, I've struggled with the addiction thing and going in and out of jail for years. And I always, end up in the same situation, whether it's in jail or rehab, and like, what the hell happened? Like, how am I here again? And as I said before, it came down to me really taking a look at myself and stop blaming everybody else and taking some accountability that I was the common denominator. And I started to see patterns within myself. Like I would get sober and really want to stay sober and stop dealing with, the same stuff that I was doing. But I would get comfortable and then start justifying certain things. And this is what particular I'm talking about. I would be sober for a while. And anybody who knows about opiates and opiate addiction have heard of Suboxone, excuse me. And what I would do is, being as I had former opiate abuse, I could go to a Suboxone doctor and get the Suboxone and not even have the intention of actually taking it. Going to get it, saying, all right, I'm going to stay sober, but because I can get them, I'm going to go get them and I'm going to sell them. And a lot of people, and myself included in the past, think, oh, that's no big deal. But it really is because what it does is it opens up the door where
Yep.
number one, now you might start taking it and it can be abused for people who don't know it can be abused. Um, but not even that part. The bigger issue for me was like, even if I was selling it, now it's illegal, number one. So if I want to stop going to jail, now I'm opening the door for a possibility. And even if you're selling it to a friend, you don't know, we kind of touched on earlier, how good of a friend that person is. Maybe
Yeah.
that
They
person
might have
doesn't
just
sell
got jammed up and then they're going to
it.
take you down with them.
And that's what I was like, getting into. Like, what if they just got jammed up and they're trying to line you up to,
Right.
soften their sentence or whatever case may be. That's one. Second aspect is that in order to sell them, you can't. It's not like, now with digital currency, Cash App, Venmo, stuff like that, where you have to go physically meet them to give them,
Right.
what you have. So now you might, and it might be somebody that's in the street still, that's still in that lifestyle that you're trying not to live. Now you got to go meet them. Now that puts you in a situation, in an area where something could happen. Or even if you meet them at their house, if that person is still selling drugs or whatever the case, and obviously you're either selling them to them to either abuse them or for them to resell. So now you're putting yourself, even if you go to their house, in a situation where now talking about the circle, you're putting yourself in a circle of people that are living the wrong lifestyle, doing the wrong things. And it just opens the door to so many things. And as I said, I'm not talking about a particular situation. This was a recurring theme for me where I would do that and I would either wind up in an area if it was outside that I don't want to be in with a
Yep.
bunch of madness going on around, aka Kensington, or I would go to somebody's house who was living that lifestyle, either abusing or selling. And now I'm around them. And now maybe instead of just handing them to them and leaving, now I'm hanging out with them. And now I'm surrounding myself with somebody who's
It's
living
easy
the wrong way.
access.
And it just opens up the door to too many possibilities of being in the wrong area, being around the wrong people, making, putting yourself in a circle of people that are living a way that you no longer want to live. Or, you know, maybe you go over that person's house and you're selling them Suboxone and now you're in addiction and, you know, they're doing a drug that was your drug of choice. And now it's in front of you, and you could keep yourself from it. It makes it a lot easier. But say you were into opiates or you're into cocaine. Now you go over this person's house and they're doing one of those drugs in front of you. Now it's easier when it's not near you, but now you're right in front of it. You're chilling in this person's house and they're sitting there getting high. Now the temptation has stepped up a level. It's like right in your face. Can you handle that? And a lot of people can't. And I'm speaking on that because it's happened to me where I had no intentions of getting high, but I wound up putting myself in a situation where that I put myself right in the mix, where it was right in my face. I was either in the wrong area, around the wrong people, and then bam, the thing that I was trying to avoid was right there, and the temptation was too great, and I gave in.
Yep.
So again, it's not a particular story, but I always talk about the saying, if nothing changes, nothing changes. And even though I need, I could always use extra money like anybody. For me, going and getting those Suboxone and then selling them, even if I could make 4 or 5 extra $100 a week or a month, it
Yeah.
wasn't worth
Is it worth all
what,
the progress you just threw away? Like,
and
no.
it, absolutely not. And it wasn't worth me putting myself in a situation of vulnerability or opportunity for something bad to happen. And I had to learn that for myself because, as I said, I put myself in that situation maybe 3 or 4 times and then wondered after the fact, like, how did I get here? Well,
Right.
you got complacent, put yourself in a situation, and then bam, the drugs were in front of me, or put me in an area where I was in the mix with the wrong things, and next thing you know, it sucked me in, and then boom, 3, 4, 6 months later, I'm sitting in jail, I'm sitting in rehab, I'm wondering what the hell happened. Well, you know what
Yeah.
happened? I happened. So, I could put it on all those other factors, but I allowed that to happen. I put myself in a situation for that to be possible. And for me, that money wasn't worth that possibilities and me putting myself in that situation. And if I don't, again, you said earlier, we can only control what we can control. Well, I can control putting myself in them situations. And now I don't do that anymore. The money would be great, but it's not worth it to me. And that's a very valuable lesson that I had to learn for myself.
Yeah.
So again,
Listen, that's real shit.
wasn't a particular day or a funny story like a couple of weeks ago, but I feel like it's a valuable lesson for anybody. Like, again, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So you have to change certain things, about yourself and certain patterns, if you really want to have greater and not have those things happen to you again. And, that's something I had to learn, and experience taught me it the hard way, but it taught me that.
Hey, wise words from Pops. Nah, I appreciate you sharing that. That's real as hell. All right, so that's some good stuff right there from me and Pops. So basically, to put a little synopsis on this episode, right? Just really breaking down what we can do as people to avoid all the bad shit. At least most of it anyway. Some of it is unavoidable, but with all that being said, I think it really comes down to structure, having different rituals that you do to keep yourself balanced, whether that's hitting the gym, whether that's, meditating. I mean, it could virtually be anything. That's just my opinion. And ultimately, eliminate the bad habits. Get rid of all the shit that doesn't serve you. For example, me, I just quit drinking, what, a couple weeks ago? Haven't had a drink since. And unfortunately, it took a bad night for me to, finally have that realization. Nothing bad happened, of course, but, I was just sloppy. I didn't feel good the next day. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? So that's a prime example of what I'm talking about. Eliminate the bad habits, develop some structure in your life. And ultimately, I mean, after that, go after your fucking goals. I think that's, the lesson I want to give to people, anybody who's watching right now. Pops, what's your lesson?
Mine is pretty simple. Find out what truly serves you in life, like what really makes you happy, what really brings joy to you, your purpose. We all have a job, but and that's great. You have to have a foundation, but what your real purpose is, even if it's just a spare time passion or whatever, find what really serves you in life. Surround yourself with the right people. Um, if you really want to change, again, like I said earlier, if you want to be a millionaire, hang around a bunch of millionaires. Same said on the other side. If you want to be a loser, hang around with a bunch of losers. It's up to you. It really serves you. Surround yourself with the right people and then work on yourself internally. Find out, you know, the bad parts of you, your flaws, like really do some internal work, take some accountability and figure out, what brings out the negative aspects in yourself and work on those to better those. Work on your health. Um, pray, that's a big thing in my life, and I'm not asking anybody to believe in what I believe in. Believe in what works for you. Believe in some type of higher power. And then the last one, I would say, don't ignore the signs, whether it be in people, the red flags. If their words and their actions don't align, get rid of them, get them out of your life, and don't ignore, signs from the universe or from God in your life. If something's telling you you have this voice in your head that this isn't right for me, this isn't right for me, you shouldn't be doing this. That's your conscience, and that's God and the universe speaking to you that this thing doesn't serve you in your life. Don't ignore those signs, whether it be with people or in other areas of life. Don't ignore those. You have those feelings and those signals in your head for a reason. And pretty much that would be it. You do those, I feel like you will be successful. You might not be where you want to be, right away, but if you work towards those things and practice those, and again, it's easier said than done, but if you keep continually working towards those and doing those things, I feel like success is inevitable.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely love that. I couldn't agree more. Hey, you know what, guys? That's going to wrap it up for episode 7. Pops, appreciate you as always. Now,
Absolutely.
if you guys could do us a favor, put in the comments what your challenge is for yourself. 30 days. Follow along with us. Like I said, we're going to be documenting everything. And, only if you want, share your progress with us too. It always goes a long way with engagement. And, it's about community here. We want to help people. We want to see the progress. We want to uplift, not put down. Hate comes from the bottom, not from the top. Always tell myself that. And, we just keep good energy. So, guys, appreciate y'all tuning in. It's going to wrap it up for episode 7. Always not but love, and we appreciate you guys. Y'all be safe out there.
All right, y'all.
Pops, see you,
All
man.
right, kid. Love you.
Love
Peace.
you.